Very good morning. You're watching Today in Parliament with me, Aishwarya Kapoor. Here are the Parliament headlines. In the Rajya Sabha today, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh scheduled to make a statement about the developments on the borders in Ladakh. Members will also continue discussion on the Union Health Minister's statement regarding the COVID-19 pandemic and the government's measures to combat it. Upper House to take up the bill proposing 30% reduction in salaries of MPs for a year. Also listed in the day's business of the House are the Homeopathy Central Council Amendment Bill 2020 and the Indian Central Medical Council Amendment Bill 2020. On the agenda of the Lok Sabha, two key bills aimed at facilitating free trade and better prices for farmers. Union Finance Minister to introduce the Taxation and Other Laws Relaxation and Amendment of Certain Provisions Bill 2020. Lower House to make arbitrary references on the demise of member from Tirupati, Bali Durga Prasad Rao. First, a look at this legislative business in the upper house. 4 bills are listed in the House for consideration and passing. The Salaries and Allowances of Ministers Amendment Bill 2020 is scheduled to be moved for consideration and passing in the upper house. The bill seeks to reduce the salaries of MPs and the sumptuary allowances of ministers by 30%. These changes have been made for a period of 1 year, effective from 1st of April 2020. The bill, which amends the Salaries and Allowances of Ministers Act 1952, was passed by the Lok Sabha on Tuesday. The Homeopathy Central Council Amendment Bill 2020 is listed to be moved in the upper house. The bill amends the Homeopathy Central Council Act 1973. It aims to regulate homeopathic education and practice. Also scheduled to be moved in the House is the Indian Medicine Central Council Amendment Bill 2020. The bill amends the Indian Medicine Central Council Act 1970. And Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will move the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Second Amendment Bill 2020 for consideration and passing. The bill amends the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016 and was introduced in the upper house on Tuesday. The Rajya Sabha will continue the discussion on the statement made by Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan on the COVID-19 pandemic and the steps taken by the government today. Members across party lines took part in the discussion since yesterday after the Health Minister made the statement on the pandemic on Tuesday. Besides this, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will make a statement in the upper house on the developments on our borders in Ladakh. The Defence Minister had made a statement on the issue in the Lok Sabha on Tuesday. Kriti Mishra, our colleague, is now joining us live from Parliament. A very good morning, Kriti. So, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will make a statement in the Rajya Sabha on the situation along the LAC. And, this statement is coming in the wake of reports quoting Chinese officials saying that Beijing cannot be blamed for the current situation along the LAC. And Rajnath Singh had also made this statement in the Lok Sabha where he had said that China had violated the agreements governing the LAC. So all eyes are going to be on the Defence Minister today.
Well, absolutely, Aishwarya. And in fact, yesterday in the evening, the government also held parleys and also held a dialogue with the opposition leaders of the upper house, apprising them of the current situation. Remember, Rajnath Singh had also made the statement in the Lok Sabha wherein he said that the Indian government is committed and is determined to uphold the sovereignty and integrity, territorial integrity of India. He also said that India is committed to peaceful resolution of this current situation, but had also pointed out that India is ready to deal with all sorts of contingencies. So that's a very important statement that Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will make in the upper house today. In addition to this, there is heavy legislative business that is slated to be taken up in the upper house. And also we've seen the bills, which is the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code Bill. Remember, this bill provides for time-bound resolution. This particular act or code provides for time-bound resolution, but this amendment bill will ensure that the companies or the individuals are given time and provides for suspension of initiation of bankruptcy or the resolution of insolvency process because of COVID-19 pandemic, so that the companies do have time in the stress of financial problems that the COVID-19 pandemic has unveiled. So that is another important bill that would be taken up, and also the Homeopathy Central Council Amendment Bill, for which an ordinance was promulgated by the government, that would be taken up along with the statutory resolutions moved by the opposition members. And also a very important item that would be taken up in the Rajya Sabha today is the discussion on the statement made by Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Harshvardhan on the COVID-19 strategy of India. Remember, the Health Minister had made an elaborate statement quoting all sorts of changes that the government had brought in and all sorts of steps that the government had taken to fight COVID-19 pandemic. And also members had participated in the discussion yesterday. So this discussion is likely to continue in the upper house today. Aishwarya?
Absolutely. So heavy legislative business in the upper house. Of course, apart from Defence Minister Rajnath Singh's statement, the discussion on the COVID-19 situation is going to continue, and there are 4 bills listed in today's agenda, including 2 on medicine. Kriti, stay with us. We'll just come back to you because we also need to discuss this legislative business in the lower house. So a look at the legislative business in the Lok Sabha today. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will introduce the Taxation and Other Laws, Relaxation and Amendment of Certain Provisions Bill 2020. Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar will move the Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Bill 2020 for consideration and passing. Tomar will also move the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Bill 2020 for consideration and passing. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will introduce the Appropriation Bills number 3 and 4 2020 for consideration and passing. All right, let's go back to Kriti Mishra. Kriti, speaking about Lok Sabha, before we discuss the legislative agenda, Tirupati Lok Sabha MP Barli Durga Prasad Rao, he was undergoing treatment for COVID-19 and he died at a hospital in Chennai on Wednesday. And of course, lower house will make obituary references on his demise. But, this is indeed worrying because ahead of this session, a number of MPs had tested positive for COVID-19, and now we have Mr. Durga Prasad Rao, the Tirupati Lok Sabha MP, who was actually undergoing treatment for COVID-19, and his demise. Of course, this is a very worrying situation.
Well, Aishwarya, as you've said, that the House, the lower house will make obituary reference and lament the demise of the sitting member. And also the fact that the COVID-19 situation, as far as Parliament is concerned, several remedial and precautionary measures are being taken to ensure that there is no further spread of the infection within the Parliament House complex. So there is proper sanitization. The physical distancing norms are being absolutely observed as far as the seating arrangements of the members are concerned, or their unidirectional movement is concerned. Meticulously, all the details have been worked out to ensure that we are able to contain this infection. So certainly it's a worrying situation, but steps are also being taken by the government. But talking about the legislative agenda of the Lok Sabha, there are important bills that you mentioned related to the farmers. Remember, the government has said on various occasions that the states have to amend their APMC Act in order to ensure that there is uniformity of rules. But because there is heterogeneity, there is complexity of laws. So these 2 bills that the government would be bringing in the Lok Sabha today will ensure that the farmers get competitive prices in the era of e-commerce and also in the era of agri-exports. Another important discussion that would take place in the lower house today is the discussion on the Namaso grants. Remember, the government had sought Parliament's nod for additional spending of 2.35 lakh crore rupees. It had also sought 40,000 crore rupees for spending on Manrega in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic as a part of Atmanirbhar Bharat package, and also 46,000 crore rupees for devolution of states, devolution to states. So these are the important items that will be taken up in the Lok Sabha today. Aishwarya?
And Kriti, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is also going to introduce the bill on taxation. So what does this bill entail?
Well, absolutely. Because of COVID-19 pandemic, the government had taken several steps in order to ensure that the people reeling under the financial stress, they are given a breather. So this, of course, provides for extension of timeline for linking Aadhaar and PAN, extension of filing your income tax returns, or even extension for disclosure under the Vivad Se Vishwas scheme. So this is a very important bill that will be introduced by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in the lower house. Remember, the government had already promulgated ordinance in this regard earlier this year. Aishwarya?
Kriti, thank you so much for all those updates on the legislative business in both houses of parliament and in some other business in the upper house. Following ministers will table papers related to their ministries. Smriti Irani for the Ministry of Textiles. Rao Inderjeet Singh for the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Dhotri Sanjay Shamrao for the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology and Ministry of Education. And Debashri Chaudhary for the Ministry of Women and Child Development. A report of the visit to Chennai, Puducherry, Goa and Mumbai earlier this year on the welfare of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes will be tabled by members Ram Kumar Verma and Kanta Kardam. And with that, we wrap up this edition of Today in Parliament. Thanks so much for watching.